Hello everyone, I'm Emmengard, and today we have a speed build of this mansion for you. If you don't know what this mansion is, it's Clue. Yes, Clue from this board game. And if you didn't know, which most people don't, this board game was made into a movie in 1985. And it is my best friend's absolute all-time favorite movie, which is weird and hilarious because it is not a good movie. It's funny, and I don't know, it's like really hard to describe Clue now that I have actually seen it. I watched it with her the other day, and it was a delightful experience and really funny, but mostly because I was watching it with her, and she's amazing and hilarious and so into that movie, it doesn't even make any sense, and watching it with her is an experience. So we watched it twice. That's right, we didn't just watch Clue once. We finished the entire 96-minute movie and then elected to watch it again. So I promised her I'd make her the Clue mansion. So that's what I'm doing. Right here is probably the easiest part, just getting that basic layout for the downstairs locked in, and I did just base it off of something that I found online, and I was like, yeah, that looks right. Though to be fair, when we were watching it through the second time, we were comparing the directions that they were running between rooms in the film to the layout that we had from the internet, and it was accurate. Which makes sense because that's the layout from the game, and the film was based on the game, which is the weirdest thing ever. Who thought that was a good idea? Who was like, I really love Clue. To be fair, it's better than Monopoly. If you grew up with board games and your family was real into board games, you've played Clue and you've played Monopoly. And of those games, Clue is obviously the better choice because Clue never ended. Yeah, it was a game about murder, but you didn't end the night with a mass family murder because that didn't ever happen. But with Monopoly, there were tears. Actually, in my family, there was I always lost, so whatever, I just didn't even care. I gave up an hour into the game, and everybody else just battled it out to see how much they could beat each other by, and then they would write their total scores of how much money they had more than other people on the inside of the box. Oh, I hated Monopoly nights. I like Clue much better. I sometimes won Clue. Not a lot, but sometimes I would win Clue, and that was cool. But still, I guess they chose the better of the two main board game things to make a movie out of, but still, who was oh, we should make this board game, and oh wait, but then no, Jumanji's a fake game. I was they made one out of Jumanji, and I was Jumanji was not a real game you could play. They just made up a magical game and made a movie about the magical game, which is fine. Anyway, yeah, so that's what we're trying to make. And it's not super easy to see where everything's happening or coming from. So we're just doing our best. Basically a couple towers, a gabled thing in the middle over the door, lots of extra bits here and there, and just keeping it basically in the same architectural style. And I looked it up so I could tell y'all what style it is. And the conclusion was about 5 to 10 different names for what this could be considered. So it sort of just falls within the general Gothic revival that was happening in the Victorian period, mid to late Victorian period, so 1850s, 1860s. But then it's sort of, I'm pretty sure this is it. Well, the actual mansion that this is based off of is in California, and it's more of an American Gothic, which is not actually what I thought it was. American Gothic is much more wood-based, so it's actually also called Carpenter Gothic, which is interesting, and it tends to be smaller buildings. I like how I just said smaller builds. Everything is a Sims build. Oh my lords. Anyway, it tends to be smaller buildings, houses and churches, and not huge things like mansions. And when I mean, I know that churches can also be huge and mansion-like, but most American churches are these tiny things that were part of a tiny village and not impressive and etc. But this would be part of the maybe part of the steamboat Gothic, which is another term mainly used to talk about big southern fancy houses that were modeled to sort of look like those Victorian steamboat ships that were going up and down the Mississippi, and they were just big and massive. And I do think that this has some of that kind of gingerbready Victorian style detailing. Oh, I forgot this was happening. I got a phone call from my nephew and I forgot to start recording again, but you didn't miss much. I just like painted everything, and yeah, we just jumped forward a bunch. He was calling from China. He's so cute. He's like a child, and he was playing Destiny, and so he saw I was playing Sims, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm playing Sims." And then he was like, "You want to play Destiny?" And I was like, "Well, I'm really bad at Destiny, and also it's been uninstalled from the Xbox, but we're gonna meet up tonight, and probably his uncle, my husband, is going to play with him." So, because he can actually play those games without getting stuck in a corner and just getting shot repeatedly. Anyway, back to our history lesson on architecture. So we could call it Gothic revival. Also, you could call it, because it's like red brick and a larger construction, it might fit into just red brick Gothic, which is, I like it when the names are descriptive and I can understand them. But generally, all of this kind of architectural style just fits into the Gothic revival period of architectural history, which was weirdly, and I don't know why, influenced by Ruskin, because apparently everything in that era was influenced by Ruskin. What's that guy's deal, man? Like, he couldn't just do paintings, he had to like influence all aspects of culture. Whatever, that guy. If you don't know anything about Ruskin and the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood and all of that stuff, you should look it up. It's interesting. They did poetry and paintings and apparently architecture, and yeah, it was just a weird time. They actually made a movie. No, not a movie. I think it was a TV show. I think they made a TV show about it recently-ish. I think it's just called The Romantics. I watched some of it. It was It was okay. It had like one actor in it that I like. He's like the werewolf in Being Human. No. He's not the werewolf. He's the vampire in Being Human. That's right. But yeah. So there you go. I think we're almost to the end of this video. Oh wait, no, I'm not even close. I haven't ever recorded this long of a video, so this is, I mean, the last one I did was like the bus one, which took like 2 seconds to build and 2 seconds to talk over. I think the whole video was like 6 minutes. This is like almost 3 times longer than that. I mean, if we're rounding 6 down to 5 and this video up to 15, yeah. But I can do it. I'm totally confident this is gonna work out. Basically right now in the video, I am just putting doors places. And I noticed something when I was looking at reference pictures is that oftentimes when they're in the hallway looking through into other rooms, they're actually looking through an archway to a door. So that's why I did like that double layer of hallway around the hall. The hall being like the vestibule, entryway, whatever, big room in the middle that you walk into. And that kind of works out, because I also was thinking like, well, if you had servants and whatever, you might not want them walking right through the middle of the hallway where anyone could see them. You might want them like going around the outside where people are not going to notice them as much. I don't really know, because I never have had servants, but I watched Downton Abbey and I decided that was maybe vaguely accurate. This house is not large enough at all to really have more than a butler, but that's cool because you can't actually have more people in a household than like a butler in your family. So it's all good. Though this has made me want to make Downton Abbey now, which seems like a really ridiculous project, which means I'm almost positive I'll end up doing it. Oh, that's a bad idea. Should not do it. It'll take forever. But now that I've thought about it, it's probably going to happen. Yeah, it feels inevitable. I mean, I did make the bathhouse from Spirited Away, which I've been intending to make a video of touring, because it's already built and I didn't have an external hard drive to do it as a speed build, so you don't get to see me make it, but I could just tour it and show it off, which might be fun. You might like that. Let me know in the comments if you think that's a great idea and you want to see a tour of Spirited Away bathhouse. I actually made 3 different versions of it too. The first version uses 2 levels of the basement to make the building taller, so you have more room internally to work with and make accurate, like, to the cartoon layout wise. But then it's in like a weird big hole because it's in, like, yeah, it's weird. I don't like building down into basements, like where you delete the floor or the roof of the basement, because it does make a weird hole and it doesn't make sense to me. So after doing it that way, which is the most accurate, like the layout of that one is most accurate to the show, after doing that I was like, no, let's do everything different, and did it again, but all above ground, so I lost both levels of the basement, which means I had to squish things and make compromises. But from the outside I like the look of it better because it's not in a big weird hole. But back to talking about this build, which is the Clue Mansion. Yeah, I don't know, the biggest problem with building that I run into is like this navigation between the exterior and how it looks, and then figuring out how to fit, especially if you're building from like, I need it to look like this on the outside, and then navigating how to make everything inside fit and like make sense and not just look ridiculous. And like you have to like do weird things, like the roof, like this roof patio I had to change like quite a bit to like make room for the stairwell on the second floor. I keep saying first floor, which is accurate if you're British, because this is the first floor, and then the ground floor is the ground floor and not the first floor. But I'm not British, so I don't know why I keep calling this the first floor. The second floor stairwell. Anywho. And then trims. Gotta make all those trims nice. I still haven't even addressed the issue of like the second floor, like the level for the height for the walls is just way too low. And I have not figured that out yet. But it's cool, I'm gonna get there eventually. I also like how I didn't really know what a conservatory was. It's a greenhouse. The things you learn when you watch British shows. I mean, when I played Clue, I just said in the conservatory. I had no idea where that was. Like, what would that even be? As a child, I had no idea. Complete ignorance. Oh, and here I had to get rid of those lovely dormer windows that I love so much from university. The problem is they don't actually let light through. So, yeah. They don't, I mean, if you want to like add the illusion of another level on a like on the roof somewhere, it's cool, but they don't actually let light through, so if you just want to use them as a window, it doesn't work. So, this is me navigating that little problem, because the second floor has basically no light in it. And I had to figure out where to add windows. And I still haven't figured out that the wall height for the second floor is just way too low still. I think I wanted to keep it low for like the profile of things on the front, but honestly, if you make it middle height, it's still good. Yeah, see, no, it's not working. It's not working. I really wanted it to work. I really wanted those there. It was not working. I like also like how I just keep avoiding the problem. I'm like, oh, it's not working. I'm gonna go over here and mess with these windows because I can't deal with you right now. But eventually I'll get it figured out. It's all good. The key is to shrink them down and make like a row of them up on the roof, and then it looks good. But yeah, that's it for today. pretty much wrapping up. Hope you come back for the second part, which will be furnishing.